Hey everybody, welcome to week 7 and happy October. So I want to talk a little bit about your assignment this week, which is the cluster analysis. We started working towards this assignment last week in discussion board 2.1. Thank you so much to those who posted. It was definitely stepping up our game in our critical thinking and critical reading skills, and I was really impressed with what everybody posted. Please go back and read the comments I posted with your grade for that discussion board, because I did give each of you individualized feedback on how well you performed that analysis and some ideas for moving forward, because your work in DB 2.1 will directly build into your assignment this week, the cluster analysis assignment. So what I want to do is pop into week 7 here and talk about the cluster analysis assignment, because you've all practiced now breaking it down in an outline format, how to analyze, how to choose the strategy, how to pair it with the right evidence, and then how to succinctly explain or analyze the connection between the strategy and the evidence, and if that was effective or not. So you'll click on cluster analysis assignment, and let's take a look at that. So real quick, what you're going to do on the top part here, it says use the cluster of essays you read and analyzed for DB 2.1 last week. You will now write an analysis essay. So you do not need to start fresh. You guys have already laid the groundwork for this assignment. All right. And it says if you decide you want to go back and rethink one of the strategies or rethink some of the evidence, now is the time to do that. And I've posted that in some of the individual comments I gave, that maybe you had a great strategy, but not quite the right evidence. Or perhaps you had good evidence, but it didn't pair with the right strategy. Or your analysis might need a little bit of development. So please look at that individualized feedback to help you build this writing assignment. All right. A little more detail, but again, you've already laid that foundation for your analysis component. So let's look at the outline, because now essentially what you're doing is you're taking the work you did from discussion board 2.1 and turning it into an essay form. And so the first way to do this is offer an introduction that summarizes the main topic of the cluster. Okay, so we are going to use summary here in our introduction, and then state the strategies you're going to use across the essays for your thesis. And so for essay 1, you would say the author in this essay used appeal to tradition. And then you'd give the analysis, the evidence in the analysis. In essay 2, by so-and-so, and using the name of the author and the specific essay, use the titles and the author's name for each of these. They use deductive reasoning, and then the evidence and the analysis. Okay, so you break it down, you'd end up having, because each of the clusters is 4 essays, you'd end up having a 6-paragraph essay in your closing, okay? That is how most people framed their discussion board. They actually chose 4 different strategies. Another way to do this, for those that may not have started the groundwork in the discussion board 2.1, you can take one strategy and analyze it across all the essays. Okay, so say you wanted to focus strictly on the authority as evidence strategy. Okay, so you would say in essay 1, here is the evidence of authority as evidence, and here's the analysis of how it worked and how that author used it. Okay, so you can do it that way as well. But like I said, for those that posted in discussion board 2.1, almost, I think everybody chose different strategies for each essay. So a couple options there for you. Now, let's get into the nitty-gritty of how do you build an analysis paragraph. It looks really similar to how you actually outlined it in the discussion board, okay? So your topic sentence is the main idea of this paragraph in your own words. Each topic sentence should include the title of the essay and the name of the author, okay? Don't use in essay 1, the author does this, okay? You want to specifically give credit to the author and give the specific title of the essay in the topic sentence. Next component of your paragraph will be a little bit of background context if I need that as your reader, and pretend your reader has not read all of these essays, they're not familiar with them. If you need to set a little context, you would do that in the next sentence. Then provide the evidence of the strategy, then the explanation of it, okay, which is the analysis piece of it, and then the significance. Connect that back to your overall thesis for the work. So again, you're taking the outline format of what you're doing. That's really the meat of your paragraph, and you're putting on a topic sentence and a closing sentence, and you've basically written the essay. And then here is the rubric for that. Again, we're practicing this as a group or as a class with the textbook this week because next week when we jump into Essay 2, you're going to start to do this for your own research and your own topic. So first we need to practice together, use the feedback also from your peers on the discussion board, get some new ideas, read the other discussion posts, kind of think through how you're going to frame this, and then we'll practice this week turning our discussion board posts into an essay format, and then we'll jump into being able to do that independently with your own research work. I do want to give just 3 tips as you write this analysis assignment, and these tips are based on the weaknesses I saw in last week's discussion post. So very specifically looking at last week's discussion post, here are the 3 problems I saw that I want to make sure you're not repeating in this week's analysis assignment. Okay. Number 1, when you go to analyze the strategy, do not speak of it in general terms. Okay. This strategy doesn't work with readers because. Okay. What you want to do is say this strategy is not effective for this work because this author uses, you see what I'm saying? So you don't want to just say this strategy can be used in many ways or this strategy is effective for all readers. You want to make sure that your analysis is referring specifically to the work, the essay, the strategy, and the evidence. Okay, so it's all funneling down into this analysis that is specific to this essay, to this strategy, to this evidence. Number 2, make sure that your evidence and your strategy align very clearly. So I saw some posts where the strategy and the analysis linked clearly together, but the evidence didn't quite show me that component. And so make sure that if you're choosing evidence, that it explicitly connects to the strategy, that as a reader, I can be like, oh yeah, that is clearly use of ethos right there, without having to have much background on that. So for some of you guys, you'll be moving your discussion post into essay form. You may need to choose new evidence that better supports or better shows that strategy that you're working on, or you may keep that evidence and choose a different strategy. Okay, so it can work either way. You can either find better evidence for your strategy, or you can find a different strategy for the evidence you've chosen. Kind of depends which you're more committed to, the strategy or the evidence. Lastly, some word choice to avoid. First of all, again, we're avoiding second person, the use of the word you in academic writing. And so I saw that quite a bit in the discussion board. So watch out for the word you in your essay. We may refer to the reader, we may refer to the author, we may refer to the audience, but we're not referring to you. The other thing is authors do not talk about anything. If they were speaking, if this was a speech, they would be talking, but they're not. This is written communication. So these authors are arguing, dissenting, writing about. There's all types of verbs we can be using, but that verb is not speaks or talks about. Okay, so watch out for that. And the third thing to avoid in language choice is, I think this is effective because, or I believe the author did a good job because. We can take the I out of this. You've already put your name at the top of the paper. I know this is what you think and believe. So we can just take those words out and just say, this is an effective use of the strategy because. All right, so language to avoid the second person you, using the author talks or speaks about things because they literally are not, and first person I think or I believe. Okay, just make your statement. I know it's yours. You're the author of your paper. So if you have any questions this week when you're working on cluster analysis, please reach out and let me know. And review discussion board 2.1, help get your ideas flowing if you need a little extra help, and also the glossary assignment that lists all the strategies and their definitions from the week prior. So we've got a couple resources to tap into, as well as reaching out to me. Thanks and have a great week.